Hello, hello, Moira Press. Here we are with a new
Oh.
little series, a micro series on a book brought to us by Jay-Z. Do you want to introduce us to the book, Jay-Z? What are we reading and why?
Okay, it's called Enlightenment for Lazy People. It's by Paul Smith. Is that the actual book or is that the
Yeah, in
pamphlet
Dutch.
in Dutch?
Oh,
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
well,
Yeah,
do you
so
read Dutch, Claudia?
yes.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
yeah, and I don't remember how and when I first came across this book, but it was a few years ago. And I read it and I was like, wow, this really does explain it all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so I have to tell you when I was reading it, I'm not arguing with the book at all. It's just I am wearing my Buddha earrings, everyone. Just so you know, I'm totally like rising to the occasion of the topic of being an enlightened Buddha. But I am a mega manifestation artist. And so it's like I was reading it a little bit with I don't disagree with enlightenment theory. It's not that I disagree with it, but am I allowed in this in conversation to look at what a mega manifester would say about the book?
Oh, yes, because you know what? You have no free will, so you're going to do that anyway.
Oh, is
Mhm.
that what it says?
No, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah, and
Oh,
I'm so glad Claudia is joining us because I didn't know that the guy was Dutch and wrote it in Dutch. And then she noticed that and it's like, so she read it in, I don't think, it might be the OG. Like the English might be the translation.
Yeah, yeah. So
Nice.
I had it home, so it was easy to pick it from the plank. So yeah, it was, and actually it was on the pile of to be read one day. But yeah, so I'm glad I had the occasion, and I didn't really made like I read it first in Dutch and then in English, and the translation is good and really close, but also a bit loose, you know. But I didn't look every sentence to check if it was well translated, but it's a bit loose translated to make it more fluent. So it's okay. It's the IDs are clear, the same, and yeah.
nice.
Nice.
Okay,
Mm.
so we're reading Enlightenment for Lazy People. Does this mean that the book is like appealing to people who are lazy and or is it like everyone who reads it gets lazily enlightened or like what do you think the title means after having read it?
Oh, I think the whole entire book, which is only 50 pages long of a PDF, can be summarized in one sentence even. If this is like enlightenment for the laziest people, I'm gonna tell them my sentence and then you can turn off the video if you want.
Mm.
Okay. Which is you don't have to do anything to be enlightened.
In fact, from what I read, that's the key to it. It's just not doing anything, just being is enlightenment. Is that kind of what
Yeah,
it's saying?
yeah. Quiet your ego.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, well, this is where the mega manifestation artist in me is a little horrified. I'm just like, I would never waste my life just being. But anyways, but I'm not enlightened, nor do I. Well, although if wait, how do we define enlightenment? Because I would think it would be the state of having light within. Is that what enlightenment is?
Yeah.
It's it's well said. It's really well said. I think it's giving priority to being energy, giving the priority of um, yeah, forgetting everything we've learned, and yeah, giving the priority to the energy. Yeah, and not your ego, and not your what you want, or yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Like just our soul seed, like the light of our soul, just noticing that light and not all the interface on top of it, just like that inner light kind of thing.
Yes, because interface is just making you most of the time. make your life more difficult. And if you just be and accept that you are energy and that things are happening and you don't make a big fuss out of it, then life is really, really, really a lot easier and yeah, less of a drama. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the points that we got to in this week's reading was like he was saying the ticker tape of the human mind is just making all this commentary about what's happening, and that's what drives us crazy. Like if we just let go of all that ticker tape and just got back into like the light within, just simply, then that would release a lot of the drama, like you're saying. Um,
Yeah.
I'm looking up enlightenment in the dictionary. It says the act of enlightening, the state of being enlightened. The Enlightenment is an 18th century philosophical movement characterized by rationalism. Okay, well, that's a whole different thing. Well, to enlighten, to give intellectual or spiritual light to a thing, to shed light upon. There's a lot of light in enlightenment.
Lots of
Yeah.
light.
I think when I hear the term enlightenment, I think of it as like spiritual enlightenment, in which it's like a sense of wisdom and calmness that and a sense of, yeah, like knowingness and I guess satisfaction or mm,
Contentment. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice.
I mean, we could argue that enlightenment's always good. Like being enlightened is never a bad thing.
Um, I see sometimes comments on the on the Kundalini yoga we do. Like people think it's egoistic to take care of yourself that way, and also I can imagine people can think it's egoistic to be that detached because you maybe take less responsibilities, or maybe you don't care about things. You know, things will happen. So, but but yeah. So I can imagine there is a bad rep about that, but they see it wrong because mostly people put the responsibilities um, on the wrong person, or they use that to say you don't do your work, or you know, like speaking bad of people, or they use it in the wrong way. So yeah, I don't know. It was
Yeah, well, I used to bring this up with my students. I was like, well, what does the Buddha do when there's a hurricane? Because you know, the enlightened Buddhists are always chilling, and I'm just like, well, what do you do? What does Buddha do if someone like is raping someone in front of Buddha's face? Like, you know, I mean, not to be like crazy, but like that seriously, like, or do they just sit there and meditate? Like, what is it?
no, they don't actually. A Buddha in that situation would take necessary action. Like that's the point of the Buddha is like you can chill when it's not necessary to do other things, but there's this concept of like you can let everything be perfect. You don't need to step in and ruin its perfectness if it was fine without you taking any action. And if it would be better for you to take action, you know that and you do that. There's well, at least in Zen Buddhism, there are these things called koans, which are kind of like I don't know, like little puzzles for I don't know, understanding. And it's like there's this one little story that like, it's called like ashes on the Buddha. And it's like, well, suppose there was a monk and he was in charge of the altar of the Buddha and stuff. And then some guy came in and was a total jerk and like was smoking a cigarette and flicked his ashes on the like in a very disrespectful way on the statue of the Buddha. Like what, how does the monk teach? What does the monk do? And the answer is the monk sweeps the ashes off the Buddha.
Hmm, interesting. Well, I hear what you're saying. Like I think. In some ways, I do have a state of enlightenment where, because I have an inert Zen flow of energy, and if something in my cue calls me to step out of like kind of Zen flow because it needs attention, I will step out of Zen flow and take attention, and then I go back to Zen flow. And I think it sounds like you're saying that's actually okay in enlightenment is to attend to things and then be Zen and not, you don't want to like meddle with life and make it dramatic in a, is that the good point kind of?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's not like you are sitting on your chair and meditate the whole time of your cushion. It's not also it's participating in life. You meditate, you go back in, but you still are active member of life, and you have many gifts. You are good at many things, and you want to enjoy your gifts. So you have invented the work you do, and you enjoy it a lot, and that's fantastic. I mean, it's just yeah, not taking there are many things we take too personally, or we attach emotion on it, and it's not necessary. Last Saturday morning, I woke up and my Hotmail account was hacked, and they went to my Facebook, and it's gone. What, where, when, I don't know exactly, but it's gone. And first, the 3/3 of the day, no, 2/3 of the day, I was really frantic. I was robbed. I was in worst state. And then I did a meditation. And then I saw the same event, but it was not attached to me anymore. It was there. It was not fun, but it's not, I wasn't frantic anymore. It was just, it happened. And maybe it was for the best. Who knows? So, yeah, I really love the difference between having all those emotions around a difficult situation, and then the situation didn't change, but I changed and I looked at it completely differently. And it's actually easier to solve the problem. I can think clearer. I mean, I love that. So I would love to get up, and whatever the world is giving me, I would be in that state, like calmness, whatever happens.
Yeah, I think astrology gives us a little bit of that movie feel of like watching everything like a movie because we look at transits, like you'll be cranky, but you're looking at it from above. You're like, oh, the planets are inciting cranky. Like there's a cranky undercurrent. And so then you kind of watch it like a movie, like, and then I was cranky, but you don't take it as personal. I mean, so I mean, JZ, do you think astrology aids in the enlightenment, mental enlightenment, or not so much?
Yeah, that was why I thought you would like this book, especially because from like an astrological lens, what it is also saying, especially when it gets to parts about like free will or whatever, is like you are gonna be who you are. And that's who you are. And that's why you don't have to do anything because you're gonna do what you're gonna do, so you don't have to go out of your way to do it. And I don't know if that sounds real circular, but there's a lot of room in this for people being their charts.
Mm.
Okay, cool. Any more comments on enlightenment, what it is, or any of that general stuff? No, okay. All right, so the first section is on being happy, and he says that in a it consumer culture leads to temporary happiness through constant filling of emptiness. Like, I need some more shoes, I need some more shoes, I'm empty inside, I need some more shoes. There's a voice in us that says it's still not good enough. Like, I have hundreds of pairs of shoes, but it's still not good enough. So, what do you guys think of that consumer culture as teaching us this void state thing?
Okay, well, I don't think it necessarily even has to do with consumer culture because I think it's just human instincts and urges. I like the part where he had said also in this section about dukkha. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but what I learned in Buddhism is people said that the Buddha said like all life is suffering. And I to myself thought, that's kind of, nah, I don't agree with that. Because, like, I don't think that I'm suffering. My life isn't full of suffering, whatever. Like, I'm sitting here in a beautiful palace. And, I just had a delicious dinner. And, like, I'm not suffering. And I like that in this pamphlet, he said that's a bit of a mistranslation. Or wait, no, it wasn't in that. It was in this. It was in this book that was
Yeah,
text.
I was lost for a while.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm going on a bit of a tangent. Okay, this book says that's a bit of a translation, but this ties in is exactly the same thing that is being said here. That it should be instead translated as unsatisfactoriness, that human life is inherently characterized by quickly being dissatisfied with our achievements and possessions. And there's a term for it, it's called hedonic adaptation.
Oh my God, we gotta write that down.
Yeah,
Well, I have something to
hedonic
say about
adaptation.
Yeah, because you adapt to your new state very quickly and it's become boring. You have everything you need and you think, oh no, I need one more thing. You have it, but it's still not enough because it's boring and you still have to have one more excitement on getting new things and yeah, being able to buy them and go to the shop or whatever.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is where I'm so glad you said this, that you don't think it's consumer culture, because I agree with this sentiment that humans are constantly, like you call it, re-baselining, Jay-Z. Like you get something, you get more shoes, you re-baseline, you need more shoes, you re-baseline. But I think we do this because of the transits. The planets move gravity through us through chi. The sunlight hits our eyes, it comes through our spine, it comes out our chakras. We're constantly moving chi. And so yeah, we can sit here just being, but then here comes all the chi in us. Like literally, if you watch a human just sit there, they have to blink. That's chi moving through, or they have to pick up their hand and scratch something. That babies are constantly moving around. A cat, if you hold a cat too long, it's like, get me out of here. Like everything is moving around with chi. And so the what we do with our chi is like, I'm gonna go out and buy some more shoes. It's like it's literally one transit at a time coming through us and us needing to move chi. So I don't think it's consumer culture. I think it's the movement of energy and that humans are made to move and constantly grow. But it yeah, and we'll get, but that's why I think it happens.
I think yeah, we Jay-Z was speaking about satisfaction, but there is like also contentment. So you are just happy with what you have. And I think many people are like that. And they never heard about enlightenment, but the happy people with less things and less possibilities and less yeah uh, yeah, like I forgot the word, but distractions, or like you concentrate on your garden or your children or your whatever, and you are just content. You are just happy. You don't need to go do some more shopping.
There's a Greek word for that. I can't remember what the Greek word is, but it means easily satisfied with food. It's and then there's certain temperaments, there's certain charts that are easily satisfied with food, and then others that are constantly grasping at things like, and so we would say some charts just run chi in this much more chill way. And then, but then also in recovery programs, they teach you that addictions are, Buddhism calls it the hungry ghost, which is you feed it and it's never enough. Like you feed it more, you feed it more, you feed it more, and it's always hungry. And like, so there's some charts that are constantly hungry or constantly moving tons of chi or like, but in recovery, they teach you to make gratitude lists. Like, I'm grateful for all these things I already do have. And that's one way to get your mind off of this constant longing for things and like notice what you do have.
Yeah, being grateful is definitely a good way to find satisfaction. Yeah, and contentment. Yeah.
Okay, so then there's the bubble bath moment, which is this concept changed my life. Stimulus search. We always call it stimming. Like you and I have always talked about stimming. But okay, so he says that people are seeking a stimulus search. And at the beginning of a bubble bath, you get in and it's all warm and sudsy, and so you get a stim surge. And then it fades away, and then you start looking for a new stim surge. So this is looking for happiness outside ourselves is looking for stim surges.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think people shouldn't be trying to stim, or how does that work?
I think we just do we that it's part of what you were saying before, like we're kind of flowing the energy through us. So we're looking for more energy to come in and move around and do things. And I don't think it's a matter of like whether it's good or bad. It's just the way it is.
Hmm.
I think we do stim search.
An interesting stim search or stim surge. Like we have to make this part of our lexicon because like my chart is like so high stim surge. Like I always have my coffee right here, but I always like it hot in here because when I drink a sip of hot coffee, it's a stim. But if it's cold coffee, it doesn't really stim me in the same way. So it's like if I go let's say I'm in a job and I just get low stimulus for a second, I still want to party. So I'm like, oh, stim surge. I never knew that's what I was doing, but like I think when we're constant stim, if you look at a party, it's like I'm talking to you, and then I get bored with that, so I go over and talk to you, and then I go out and have a cigarette, and then I go into like there's this constant stimming in a party, and that's what makes people party. So it could be said that stimming does bring enlightenment. It does bring light within, but this guy would make the case that dropping away these desires is real euphoria. Like if we say, I don't need stimulus to be happy, I just am, and that's happiness.
But I think Steam search is making you less quiet inside. I mean, you don't hear yourself anymore. You just hear no. I don't know. I don't know. I yeah. I
Well,
I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
think that's the question is like, like as a mega manifestation artist, I would say, take point your stim search at a good manifestation of yourself. Like if you say, my goal for
Mm.
this lifetime is to teach 100 people, 100,000 people to read their own chart. Well, then when I'm looking for a stim, I should be like, oh, I'm gonna email that person about their chart, and like I'm gonna stim on my goals instead of just like smoking a cigarette, which is like a stim search with no real enlightenment in that
Focus.
path.
You give focus to your Steam search.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that, and I'm sorry for keeping on jumping ahead to this book, which we're gonna read next, but it's just so well aligned with this that there's this concept in here too of like they go over the same things, the like that there's always this constant unsatisfied desire, and that's part of our human nature. So the way to be a mega manifester, as you're saying, or like an enlightened human or realize your most highest potential is to point your desires in the direction of your values
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well,
because you're gonna do it anyway, so you might as well do it in serving, like they say, the greater good or whatever, or
Your
really
Dharma.
being your true
Yeah.
self. Yeah, your dharma, right.
Mm.
And you, since you have all this uncoordinated energy, coordinating it in the direction of your dharma is like the way to go.
Maya, this is epic. Can we have something like that's called an enlightened mega manifester versus like a flailing, unsatisfied mega manifester? Because I feel like we can have this baseline enlightenment and then point our stim search onto Dharma, and that would be a great path, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, it's also possible that when you really um, give space for your light, you will find your Dharma without looking for it. So if you really connect with yourself, if you really take the time, then the dharma is clear, and there is less search and more focus. And yeah dharma should be something like logical. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I think astrologers attack Dharma logically and technically. Like we don't say when people say, "What's the purpose of life?" We're like, "Well, the purpose of your life is," and then we look at we go really technically, and you'll be manifesting it one Jupiter transit at a time. Like with that it's a Dharma study. We call that in Greek teleology, which is the study of life path and purpose, which they call enco. I mean, there are all different words for the same concept of like, what is your purpose here? And
Yeah, and I think kind of to wrap around to what we were talking about at the beginning of like enlightenment, I think that there are, that the whole point about you don't have to do anything to be enlightened. You definitely don't have to search for it. Because then by definition, like you're a seeker. I'm a spiritual seeker. Like I don't
Yeah.
want to be a spiritual seeker. I want to be a spiritual founder. Like, all right, I found it. I don't need to spend my whole entire life seeking. That's dumb. Like, just like,
Yeah. And actually, for this book, I think there is not even the action to seek or the action to find. It's just is. So yeah, it's just manifests by itself because that's your movie. So yeah.
so the next thing he talks about is the rat race, where he says we are taught to chase goals and say no matter what, it's never enough.
Yeah.
So, I'm having this experience where I manifested everything I was writing in my manifestation notebook last year, and like they've all come true now. So now I'm just like, now what do I do? I have to rebaseline and make a new goal. And he would say that that's the rat race, but we might say that's chasing, that's more Dharma in the monitor. Like, I'm just like, that Dharma's going to get bigger and bigger because the more scope, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Of course you will adjust your goals, and you want an activity, you want an economical success, you need money for food and other things. So yeah, it's not like we just sit down and we are enlightened and we let this movie go by. We still have to live and enjoy life. So it's fantastic that you reach all your goal and you manifested everything you wanted to manifest, and now you're gonna imagine, or I don't know, maybe envision new goals, and that's fantastic and that's good, and there is no judgment or nothing good or bad, or it's life, it's good, go on girl. Fantastic.
Then why does he call that the rat race?
Yeah, but I think it's a bit different when um I don't know. You still have, I think you still have to develop yourself and find out of become the best version of yourself. So if the best Andrea is at the head of a big school or a big whatever you're doing, I mean, you are on earth to be the best version of yourself. So it's not really the same rat race of, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's really the same rat race. Jay-Z, help me there.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between the rat race and like signing up for a 5K to do on the weekend because you want to, you know? It's the enjoying and appreciating versus the having to do it compulsively.
Well, and I think if we're chasing our dharma and that's what we're manifesting, if we start with the question of like, God, what is your will for my life? And then we start manifesting that. right? That's not necessarily the rat race. Like if I was like, I want a big house and a car, like that would be the rat race because that's a kind of what we're taught to want, right? As opposed to like the individualized version of what we're here for. So like I think now that you guys brought Dharma into the equation, because you guys are advanced enlightened people, we are actually progressing beyond what he's saying here, which was they're saying we're not in the rat race, we're in the Dharma derivative or something. I don't know. We're like it's different.
Realization, Dharma realization.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and luckily my Dharma needs me to have a big house and a car.
Your Dharma needs two houses, actually. That's your Jupiter and Cancer and four. Well, and four, with the moon. Yeah. I mean, so I think we're actually moving beyond what he's saying, and that's why you're a spiritual founder and not a spiritual seeker, because you actually have something to say. I wouldn't call you a guru because that would be weird,
Yeah.
but you're kind of getting there. Kind of getting there. Okay. Now he says spirituality is a thing. So a lot of people decide that the material isn't enough and they turn to spirituality, but they still do it in a process of doing, not just being. So he basically says they replace the chasing of spiritual ideals with this kind of rat race thing. What do you guys think of that?
It's the important thing is um you don't have to do anything to feel good, but you can still develop your spirituality. If you feel bad and you think I have to do something to feel good, then it's better to do the spiritual thing than the buying a new car. Because the spiritual thing will learn you or teach you um, how not to feel bad, whatever thing's happening. And being enlightened is spirituality. So yeah, of course you have to do something about it, but it's learning not to feel bad, I think. Yeah.
Well, and I would say the astrology for me is it says on it depends on what your chart is doing. Like if you have planets in the 12th house, you are a consciousness worker, you are a spiritual worker. Like you're here to develop consciousness and spirituality, and that is one of your dharmas. And so I think chasing that is a life very it will make you feel good and feel enlightened, you know. Um someone I know as a 12th house moon is always sending me those videos of like, be enlightened, don't want anything. And then my 10th house moon is like, I'll go in the public and be in show business actually, because like the enlightenment's just not my dharma. I mean, it's not that I'm not studying it, but I'm just saying that my dharma is to take those things public. Like I have a Pisces moon in the 10th house, which is like studying consciousness publicly. Like that's so it's like it's just I think but some people have materialistic placements like, a lot of Taurus in the second house and they might want to collect cars and clothing items as part of their dharma because maybe they're supposed to have a secondhand store. Like we don't know why they're collecting those things. If you're just moving around chi and you're just pushing chi and dirt around for no reason, that's one thing. But if we say, oh, you're supposed to collect things so that you can sell objects to people, like, I don't know, I think if we apply a purpose to those things, depending on the chart, they can all be meaningful. It really depends on the chart.
Yeah, I understand your thing. And I think it's also like we don't have all the same path, and that's fantastic. And yeah, that's fantastic. And some people will have a perfectly happy life collecting things and not even 1 minute of their life thinking about enlightenment or spirituality or dharma or whatever. And it's okay. I mean, I'm happy we are not all yeah, spiritual founders or seekers.
Well, in
So
manifestation theory, they say that no two people will manifest the same thing, and in that way, there's human abundance because not like everyone wants something different, so you can all have what you want, you know.
yeah, fantastic.
All right, the next one is he says, in order to achieve enlightenment, you don't have to do anything. That's actually the point, is to stop doing things. So what do you think of that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, what are we supposed to do with our chi then?
Yeah, Ethan, you don't have to mind your breathing. So let your chi be your chi. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think we don't have to do anything. No, we don't
Mhm.
have to do anything. Like we can do things though, but we don't have to. And we don't have to do enlightenment, you know? Like we just have to do ourselves.
So like it makes me think of the term busybody. Like a busybody is someone who's just can't sit there quietly doing nothing. They're just like have to do all this stuff and like they have to pick up this pen and like so they're kind of moving chi around to at a level where there's not very much peace there. But what they're saying is you could if you're able to just sit and do nothing, then you can choose to do something or not. But like it's like choosing existence as enough.
And
Well, maybe it comes a little later in the book. There's like also a part of like, and you will naturally choose to do the things that you would naturally choose to do. But I don't think that the book advocates that you're going to end up sitting around doing nothing.
So he's basically dropping materialism and goals at the beginning so that he can rebuild us into Dharma, kind of.
Ooh, it could be.
Spoiler alert. Okay. Any other comments on that piece? Because now we're moving into non-duality.
it's good.
Okay. So non-duality, what's that literally mean? Non-duality.
It's there is just one. So it's also like we learned Jay-Z in Ayurveda. It started with one. There is it. We are all one. And when you think you are this little person, you are actually just another manifestation of the one. And it's your ego that tells you that you are this person, but actually you are far more than this person. But it's not. We can't conceive it with our brain. We never learn to see the world like that. So it's but non-duality is everything is one. For so far, I understood it. Jay-Z.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I think non-duality is kind of like that thing where they say, where you see a picture of the ocean and some islands, and it seems like the islands are disconnected, but then when you look with all the water gone, they're really just connected underneath the water. So things that seem like they are individual are really at their roots connected.
Interesting. The great mycelium of life. Well, okay, so yeah, non-dual means not two. And so that non-duality means like not looking at things in a binary, like me and you are two, kind of thing. But let's look at the sun, the great mycelial factor of all human life. It's like the sun is extruding through each of us, hitting our eyes and going down our spine and extruding through our chart, right? So we are all manifestations of one sun. Right? Like when people go crazy, they're like, I am God, I am God. They do this all the time. And I'm like, well, just add a few words and you won't be crazy. I am an extrusion of God. Like then you're not crazy anymore. It's like we are all the sun god Helios is extruding through us all in one, and we're all just like movers of this big thing. So like I agree with you about that mycelial factor of humans, and you can look at it as like we are separate, or we can look at it as we are one, and it's like a pulse of all of us at once. Like schools of fishes are kind of interesting because they're not really they just like move in this big like
Yeah,
they're
yeah, it's really magical. Yeah, but yeah, so it's nice. Also, you said the sun because I'm using a Inca tradition, with my work. And the highest deity is the sun. It's the highest representation of God, and we all have a seed of the sun in us. And there is no difference between men and women and high and low. And we all have that seed. We all are part of the same energy or something. And yeah, I love that. And also you can also like recharge when you are in the sun. And yeah, I love that.
So we're all actually one moving in this video.
Mhm.
We're not in triplicity. We're not three, we are one.
Yes. Mhm.
So there's a Greek or there's a word he brings up is Advaita, which means
Yeah.
not two.
Hmm.
So he says everything is one, everything is connected. So is that part of enlightenment that we are all connected?
You can probably feel it when you are like a monk or Dalai Lama or something. I think some people can feel it. I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
very people.
is it implicit in when they say, enlightenment that you've come to this realization? Is that what enlightenment is? Coming to the realization that of non-duality?
I do think when we notice the oneness among all things, we get happier. You know what I mean? Like if I'm like, oh, the three of us are one, like it makes me feel connected and close to you guys, even though we live all across the world. It's like, I think in order to see the light within, and then now we're talking about the sunlight within and all this stuff, it's like literally seeing the light within is part of this whole thing, is like to feel that we are one makes people not feel alone, number one. And I think people get sad with this separateness of like, you don't understand me and we'll never be together. Like that makes people sad. So maybe it is a happier concept, or it definitely creates a nice visual image of like we are all one. Like makes me want to sing We Are the World. We are the world. Wait, I'm
But
my sage too. We are the children. We are.
but Jesse said something nice. He said, does it mean to be enlightened to understand non-duality? Is that what you said, Jesse?
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's really his point. Yeah. I mean, they look at spirituality like there is just one source, and that is at Advaita from India, and it's not the truth, but it's he said it's only a reference to the truth.
Mm.
So that's interesting, and but it's one way of saying it, but the understanding non-duality will bring you enlightenment. Yeah, I mean, I think
Maybe it's a
so.
concept we need in our wheelhouse in order to understand the rest of the book.
A wheelhouse.
Yeah, like it's like we need it in our bag of concepts
Yeah.
in order to get to enlightenment. Like maybe without it, you are kind of.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and I hear what you were saying too, Claudia. It's like it's not the only path to enlightenment. And what you were saying, Andy, it's like there's like interconnectedness is one truth that can lead you to enlightenment.
Yeah, I think so. They are not completely. Yeah, I really like. It's only a reference to the truth, and that is really nice. And also, I really like a site. Sorry, I don't know. I forgot the word. I'm very sorry. So he speaks about Spinoza and Albert Einstein and Shakespeare and Schopenhauer and Taoism and Sufism, and that's fantastic. And those were also philosophers and teachings that are speaking about non-duality, and that's fantastic. It's not new, and it's not, and it's Actually, he said non-duality was like 800 years before Christus. So yeah, that's an old concept, and it appeared in different jackets. Yeah.
He compares it to the Earth being round or flat. Like it's like in Enlightenment, the Earth was flat, and then they realized it was round, and it changed their whole worldview, and that was upsetting and caused tension. And I think this is similar. He's saying it's like just understanding things as we are separate or we are all one is kind of like, is the world round or world flat? Does it really affect us on our everyday life? Like we walk on the world how it is. Like is it round or flat? Doesn't really matter. But it changes just everything philosophically to understand that. So I think he's asking us to look in that with those lenses, the non-duality lenses at everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, we have three more concepts in 11 minutes. Okay, here's a big one, which is we're watching a movie. He said we can enjoy sadness and horror while watching a movie, which is much like enlightenment. Like, whereas if something horrifying happens to us in our everyday life, we take it real personal, which isn't akin to enlightenment. And this, I think, harkens back to what Claudia was saying, the critiques of enlightened people is they're too detached. I mean, so let's talk about the detachment of horror and sadness things, and is life like a movie?
Oh yeah, I love the part where he's like, people will tell you, like, come out of the movie and be like, I cried like a baby, and they're like laughing that they were, cried. They had and they're so happy that the movie was so awesome that it made them cry. That I think is just like so spot on. It's so awesome. And it's kind of like what you were saying at the beginning, Claudia, with your experience earlier this week of like getting all your accounts hacked and then losing like all these accounts with all your followers and all this, like that. But if it was your friend telling you that story, you would have compassion in a different way. You would still be like, oh my God, so feel for them, but you wouldn't be like distraught like you are when you're the protagonist of the story.
Yeah, and also, like the same day, finally, the I saw the movie. I saw it from a distance, and that was fantastic. I could sleep well. Yeah, it was really fantastic. That detachment is really, really great, and also thinking, oh, maybe it was also like what we learn about Saturn, that it's a hard master, but afterwards, after the hard lessons, then you think, it was hard, but I've learned something really deep, and I'm happy I got the lesson learned or something. So you can have difficult moments and still see them from a distance. Think, ah, it was good. It was okay. It she's still a bitch, but because it's a woman who did that to me. But um, I don't say I wish her well yet. But maybe I will be there. Yeah, no resistance to those emotions. Also, that is a point very important in the book, I think. It's okay to feel bad and angry and distraught, and then let go, and yeah.
Well, I
It's
think this is
it's
one of the
so.
things that, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that astrology teaches us is to watch things like a movie from the transits downward. For example, let's say you go through a Mars transit and you get really cranky, like, you know, um, and you're like snapping at somebody, and then you're like, oh, I was hard Marsing, like, oh, you know what I mean? It's not like it's like you don't take it as personal as people who, people who don't know astrology kind of are hard for me to deal with because they'll get in a fight and they'll just be like, and then you gaslit me, and then you were a horrible narcissist, and then all these things. I was like, dude, can we just say I was in a Mars transit? Jeez, like it's like, can we look at it like a movie of detachment, please? Because I was just literally trying to deal with my chi. Like I don't know all these narratives you're putting on it, but like, so I do think astrology helps with the mental side of enlightenment of the seeing things like a movie. because like Claudia brought up the Saturn one. It's like when we're in the Saturn lessons, and we're going to talk about this in Real Magic on Monday about there's three ways to enlightenment. And one of them is he says that you go through a hard situation and then you look back with enlightenment, like, oh, but I learned all these things. That would be like you go through a Saturn transit and then you find the grace in it. But you can also, he said, find the grace as you're going through the Saturn transit. And that's what advanced astrologers do, is like when we're in the transit, we're like enlightened as we are going through it. Like you don't need that. That's what advanced astrologers look like, is they're literally they're spiritual masters of enlightenment through the weirdest things, because they're just like, and oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, nice.
Okay, so is it okay? Let's actually address that. Is it a critique to say we're too detached watching it like a movie? Does that make you a detached pathological person, or is that like always a good thing?
Well, I would say it's only like pathological if, like Claudia was saying, like you don't feel the emotions too. Like I get what you're saying, and you were saying we're gonna find that out in this book, which I guess I haven't read yet. I gotta read that.
Yeah.
But like as you're going through it, I think it's important that as you're going through it, you do feel the emotions because you need to somehow get the Mars energy through you. You can feel the emotions, whether you feel them for that situation or you want to kind of divert them into a different thing where you like, I don't know, punch a boxing bag instead of having an outburst or whatever, but like you gotta feel the things because that is why we're here in these bodies, they say. And so that's the point of not being so detached that you're just sitting there doing nothing.
Hmm.
All right, let me move on to the last concept because we only have 5 minutes, which is he compares people to those guys in the Muppets who sit in the balcony making comments about the movie, where they're just like, "Oh, and look at him, look at his pants, oh this and that," like, and then they're gonna fight, and like, and he says that that actually creates suffering, and that what if we can find inner peace while living, it would be to stop the commentary in the human mind. So, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, definitely. That's the part of like being in the now, being present with the things that are going on. And one way that, in say some yogic traditions where they use mantras or other spiritual traditions is you do that intentionally. You instead of letting some all this script of your internal sportscaster being like, oh, and then this happened, and then I see that over there, and then this over there, but instead you're kind of chanting to yourself, Waheguru, 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 Waheguru. Like if you're replacing the voice that is distracting you in all sorts of directions with a mantra.
Claudia, it's your
Yeah,
turn to enlighten us on this.
and I really think the drama and the pain we have is all like added frustrations to something that happened 60 years ago or something. Oh, I wasn't there. 40 years ago. I mean, it's you are just making your life difficult. So just enjoy the movie. And yeah, the worries also, that's something, you not being in the present and worrying about the future because we don't know what is going to happen because, ooh, the economy, the politics, ooh. And, but yeah, what will arrive and we can't change it now. They took the course. So yeah, just enjoy the movie and go and work in a garden or something.
Okay, can I say my 2 cents on this too?
Yeah, what do you think, Andy?
Okay, so just building on what you guys are saying, because I agree with everything you're saying, is that I think this is what I would call narrative therapy. Because like some charts create a negative narrative, like a Mercury Saturn conjunction, sometimes a Mercury Mars, we get like a negative narrative creator. Some charts create a very positive narrative, like a Mercury Jupiter is like very positive. And so I think life is composed of a few things. One is what we see and experience, and then what's the narrative we put upon it. Like some people can go to Aruba and then you're like, how was it? And they're like, fine. And that's a narrative where you're just like, you just made Aruba seem really boring, you know? But then some people can go to like the local bistro and you're like, how was it? And like, well, anyway, so I saw it. And like some people's narrative maker is just like amazing. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I think we have to study the narrative coming out of the person. Is it helpful? Is it hurting? Is it negativistic? Like all these kinds of things. Like if your narrative is hurting you, that's when we come into the mantras and we do like Om Shri and we start replacing narrative with beautiful things. Or, it's like your narrative can kill you. That's manifestation, right? Like you're manifesting the narrative about what you see. But also part of it's what we choose to put in front of our face and what experience. Like we chose to talk about enlightenment for an hour today. That's not just the narrative, that's what movie we decided we were going to watch. And so that's also part of enlightenment is kind of choosing the movie in some ways.
Yeah,
Oh,
nicely said. Mhm.
Who we got? So I think our tactic should be to do 2 sides of a page per episode.
oh, nice. Nice. Yeah.
Wow, this was awesome.
Yeah, that's good. Are you guys enjoying the pamphlet book, whatever?
Oh yeah, and I love it to have it in Dutch and English. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm really happy.
I feel much better having talked to you guys about it because I was having some of these like about it. And now I just am like, I learned so much about pointing your Dharma and like being an enlightened man, mega manifestor. I'm learning so much.
Oh yeah,
Nice,
this is good. This is
fantastic.
good. All right,
I
so
know.
we're gonna talk about it again for probably two more episodes or maybe three, and we'll put the link in the comments so that if people want to follow along with us, they can.
Sure.
Fantastic.
I think we're going to need more than two. We have two more on the schedule, but we'll have to schedule some more because I don't think we'll get through the whole thing. And I want to.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Claudia,
and
thanks for
remind
joining us. Huh?
yeah.
Will you be here next week, Claudia?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, good. Yes.
Mhm.
See you guys.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.